It was a cold evening and Sarah was in the animal shelter. She had a big job to do. Her client, Mr. Green, said his dog Max was stolen by his neighbor, Mrs. Brown. Sarah had to prove that Mrs. Brown took Max, but when she saw Mrs. Brown hugging the dog, something felt wrong. Sarah had all the papers to show Max belonged to Mr. Green. She had pictures and receipts from when he bought the dog, but when she saw Mrs. Brown with Max, she began to feel unsure. Mrs. Brown looked sad, and Max seemed happy in her arms. But the papers say Max is Mr. Green's dog. Sarah talked to the shelter workers and they showed her a small tag on Max's collar. Max, from Jane. Who's Jane? Sarah couldn't stop thinking about the tag. The next day in court, the judge asked a question. Did you ever find out who Jean is? Mrs. Brown cried. She said, Jane is my daughter. Max was my daughter's dog. After Jane died, I promised her I would take care of Max. Sarah felt confused. She had always thought the law was about being right, but now she wasn't sure. In the end, the judge ruled that Max should stay with Mrs. Brown. Sometimes it's better to be kind than to be right. Love and promises matter more than papers.